So a guy walks into a fishing access site. That's it. There's no punchline. But it is the topic of this episode of We're No Damn Experts. We're chatting all about a new requirement to recreate in many parts of Montana. We're breaking down what you need to know about the new conservation license coming up.
Best damn podcast, the best damn town. You want to get up, get ready to get down. With its big wide sky and the wild river Tame, if you want to go, we can take you there to Great Falls, Montana.
Welcome to the greatest damn town in Montana, Great Falls. I'm Rebecca Ingham.
I'm Shannon Newth.
And we're no damn experts. I think this is going to be an interesting, fun topic.
Yes.
Probably not as entertaining as the golden ticket, but it's a similar idea of what we need to do today.
Mm-hmm. Because the golden ticket one, that was before I was around, but that was talking about the glacier reservation system.
Yep. And this is a new kind of, we'll call it a periwinkle ticket.
Instead of golden.
Yep.
You're not going to stay within like platinum or bronze.
No, periwinkle.
Okay.
Periwinkle ticket.
Okay. Is
So-
that a thing, or did you just make that up?
Of course I just made it up.
Okay. I figured, and then I
Yeah.
thought, well, maybe I'm missing something. Okay.
Nope, you're not.
The periwinkle ticket. We'll see what Dave thinks of that.
Okay.
Yes. And our guest today, Dave Hakengruber. Dave, thanks for being with us to talk about Rebecca's newly coined term.
The periwinkle ticket.
Sounds like a bird species, to tell you the truth. But
Yeah.
It does a little bit.
Well,
yeah.
it could be. You know, if we find a new bird species, let's name it that.
Yeah.
sounds good.
We'll
Okay.
we'll attribute it to you. Yeah.
So Dave is here from Montana Fish, Wildlife,
Mm-hmm.
and Parks, which is one of the many different agencies we have in the state of Montana that do outdoor management.
Mm-hmm.
Is probably a good way to say that. You got the National Forest Service. You got other people too.
Other agencies.
Yeah. But Fish,
a good
Wildlife,
start.
and Parks is probably the funnest part. We've got
Yeah.
a lot of state parks.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a lot of fishing access sites. I think you all are in charge of hunting licenses and fishing licenses.
State parks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Outdoor recreation. You
Yeah.
bet.
Yeah.
So all of the outdoors.
We kind of coin it as consumptive and non-consumptive. So the consumptive
Oh,
would be
It's a big
we're
word.
going to hunt, we're going to fish, we're going to take something home with us. And then there's the whole non-consumptive. Let's go watch the birds and float the river and
do that kind of thing.
those
That's it.
sorts
I
of
got to
things.
remember that
Yep,
terminology.
see, there we go. We'll try and learn.
And Dave, you've been part of FWP, we'll call it for short, this what we reference it as, for many years in various capacities.
Right. I have 25 years in Helena in the education field down there in fisheries education. And then since that time, almost 3 years now, I've been here in Great Falls. So
In the
yeah, 28 years worth.
What?
Been a while.
What's your deal here in Great Falls?
I am the long term is I am the region 4, which we probably should figure out
Yeah.
boundaries and talk about where
Yes.
region 4 is. Great Falls is smack in the middle of region 4, but I'm the communication and education program manager for the region. So
Okay. So let's talk about the region. We're not just focused on Great Falls. It covers kind of a greater area, but it's not, I'm just going to say this, not every region in the state of Montana is the same. So you're going to
Right.
have regions connected to tourism. You're going to have regions connected to hunting districts and all these different things that make up different regions. What does your region cover? What is Region 4?
Well, what I like to think of as region 4 is biologically and physically, it's the most diverse region in Montana.
Yeah.
I mean, you go to western
baby.
Montana,
Like it.
you got a lot of mountains, and
Yeah.
you can't see the sky. You can't. And
Yeah.
here we have we have better mountains. We have the
I like
prairies. We have
Mhm.
the breaks. We have the rivers. We have reservoirs. We've got we have every species of wildlife in the state. We
So,
have,
Dave,
we've got it all.
already kindred spirits.
Yes.
Shannon knows this because she listens to me drone on often, but I tell people all the time when they walk in here, you're in the most diverse landscape in Montana around Great Falls, because to the west of us is just mountains and to the east of us is just plains. But here you got it all.
In an hour, you can go from prairie grassland to, above the timberline alpine.
Yeah, see?
And
So it is, yeah, totally.
all the wildlife.
And all the wildlife, all the birds.
Yeah.
Lots of good trivia there. I mean, with numbers of wildlife and going through,
Yes.
like I said, 25 years in schools. We
Yeah, there's
91 species of fish, 101
Oh my-
mammals, 400 plus species of birds.
birds. Yeah, I was
Wow.
just going to say it was either I make up
We'll
numbers.
do a test when
often.
we're done.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was thinking
like,
that
oh
too. I
boy.
can just spit a lot of these out, and
Yeah.
somebody will look them up and go,
Oh,
"You're
he was wrong.
Yeah.
But you didn't come
I'm
here
wrong
under the
often, so-
auspice of
Right.
being an expert on how many bird species there were.
No, I didn't
you're
Everything
even
I
tell
say
you to
will
know
be an
that. Yeah.
approximation, and
in
do
general.
a disclaimer in
That's
general.
hey,
That's good enough.
But it just
Yeah.
makes them learn more. That's
From the
why I
government.
always. That's why I always just dump things, and I'm be like, "You go figure out if I'm right or wrong."
She's just telling our
me
visitors all
wrong.
of these things. Yeah, exactly.
I'm pretty much right.
We had Katie Katinsky on the podcast. She'll actually be our episode next week talking about she's a huge hiker in the area, and she was just spouting off all these different plant names and the different blooms you can find in specific areas on specific times. And this is just research I need to do now, but even just the wildflower varieties that we have around here are
I
impressive.
knew nothing.
The
Yeah.
diversity is really amazing.
Yeah.
It is.
Yes.
And that's why, I very specifically targeted this as the place where I wanted to come and finish up my career and
Yeah.
do this job
How do you
because
know?
of what we have here.
Yeah.
So are you an avid fisherman?
Very, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
How
So-
many of the 100+ kinds of species have you caught?
We didn't talk about this
I know.
before, and I was hoping it would, because kind of for my son now, who is 23, our life's goal together has been to catch,
Every
mainly for him,
species?
every species in the state
Wow.
of Montana.
That's a good goal.
So when he started that when he was it was kind of his idea when he was about 5 or 6 years old.
That's really cool. It's kind of
Yeah.
like that birding.
Sure, like a
movie.
life
Yeah.
list of birders
yeah.
do that
Get
all the time.
get all the birds.
Yeah.
I don't have those kind of goals in life, but
It
But
takes
it's
some
cool
work,
that
but
you
it's a
do.
great
Yeah.
excuse to go out
yeah, and
It is.
find
It keeps
the
you
fish.
motivated.
and to go, where can we find a plains minnow, or where can we find a red-bellied dace, or
Right.
Yeah.
a Rocky Mountain sculpin? And then
Sure,
when we
and
find
I just
them,
saw a bunch of those the other
sure,
day.
they're all over. They're swimming right down the street. But how do you catch one of those
I don't
things?
even know those
it's,
names.
What's it?
Yeah.
it's kind of fun. So yes, I very much partake in all of those activities.
So the Missouri River is a haven for a ton of variety of fish. Do you spend a lot of time on that body of water, or are there other bodies of water that produce more variety?
The neat thing is the further out onto the prairies you go in Montana, the more diversity you find with the fish. The
Ooh.
western Montana, and you think there's a few fish there. There's trout, salmon,
Yeah.
whitefish, things like that. You come to central and eastern Montana, and you really see the full
Variety.
the full variety of all those different fish, which is also where the state records
Yeah.
come
Oh,
from.
true. Yeah.
And we've set. I wish I could take any credit. Nobody. The only people who get the credit are the anglers, but we've set records for walleye recently, brown trout,
Yeah.
some of the sucker species, some really unique, really cool fish, and that's what I
Oddities.
really
Yeah.
like. Yeah.
That's what I've always loved about the Missouri. We spend a lot of time on the Missouri in the spring, and the amount of different fish you're catching with the same, we're going to fish for walleye today, and this is
Right.
what we're going to use.
Yeah.
And then 3 other types of fish eat your stuff, and you're like, well, okay, you're all into this. That's
Or you
good.
float below the dam and catch one thing, and you
Oh,
go to
yeah,
the other
sure.
side of the dam.
Yeah.
Whole different set.
Quarter of a mile away and fish
Yeah.
from shore, and you catch totally different fish.
Yeah.
Or maybe the same, but
It's so much. It's an experience. You never know what's beneath the water.
No. Which is kind of creepy sometimes.
So do you do floating as well? We were just talking earlier today that floating has become a little bit more of an activity that happens on our waterways on the Missouri, to the chagrin maybe of some of the fisher people, but
it's become a greatly increased activity. I just, in Montana Outdoor Magazine, just saw a statistic that recreational floating. So not talking about floating from a raft and fishing as you go, but just recreationally. That's become the fastest growing water-based recreation. So the kayaks, the cheap $100, $200, $300 kayaks, you don't have to spend thousands of dollars now
Right.
to get a boat, a simple boat, throw it in the water and float the river. So it's become very busy with that.
Which is
Yeah, it's like that leads perfectly
right into the
into
segment of the purpose we brought Dave here for. But before we get into this conservation license and recreating on all this kind of public land, I'm just going to preface this with this is a normal thing in a lot of other states. Stickers or licenses or some type of permit that allows you to recreate on public lands to kind of control that. And our neighbors across the state have had that in the past. But this is something that will be a new idea for Montana. And I would assume it's because a lot of the increased activity of not just out of town people, but residents as well, engaging in some of these activities. So am I a little bit on base, telling a little bit of the truth?
I think it's totally accurate. And what I think you're speaking about is the new requirement that if you access state-owned land, that you have a conservation license now to go with that, which for years, decades, if you bought a hunting or fishing license,
You already had
you
it.
had that, and that allowed you to access those state-owned lands. And really it's to pay, for the maintenance, the conservation activities, the acquisition of those properties. And now that there are so many other users, I mean, the number of those users has just gone through the roof. Just recreational users, whether it's walking a dog, eating a picnic, having a picnic lunch, floating with your kayak or your inner tube down the river or your big pink unicorn or whatever people, there's so many things. You drive the Missouri and you
So
see
true.
floating down that river. It shares the cost of maintenance and all that thing, spreads that among all the users now.
Probably the most common terminology within, I would say, our industry, like the tourism industry or kind of that backcountry industry, is the idea of a backpack tax or a hiker's tax. That idea of they are getting a great share of the benefit of the management and the maintenance, but there's no kind of licensing or fee associated with that kind of activity. But our neighboring community or neighboring states have had those in place in the past. And a lot of people, like in Utah, you have to put in for some permits. And in Oregon and Washington, there are places where you have to have a license or a permit to access some of this public land. Not that they can't because it is public, but that license helps with all of that. So something new for us. But our guests coming in may be a little familiar with that. And we have heard, like, do I need any kind of fee or license or, permit to do any of this? And for the longest time, it was, nope, you're good.
Sure. Similar in the
Go
way
out and explore.
to visit, you want to go into Giant Springs Park. Well, if you're a resident, you've already paid that fee when you license your vehicle. If you're a non-resident, you have to pay the day use fee or buy a park pass or whatever, just to pay for the maintenance and upkeep on those properties.
So will people who are going into, let's say, Giant Springs State Park, which is Montana's most visited
state
Yes.
park.
And we have
Yeah.
a whole episode where we talked about Giant Springs.
So if you're going into the park, you pay your park fee. Do you also have to have a conservation license to go into the park?
No, since your fee has already been paid for park entrance, if you're just going to visit a park, you don't need anything other than that park entrance. Or if you're a resident, when you licensed your vehicle, you're good to go. Go in there, load as many
your
people,
thing.
put everybody into one car and drive
Get
them all
in
in
there.
if you need to. And
Yeah.
go have fun.
So what is the deal with the conservation license? Anybody who hikes, anybody who floats, anybody who swims their dog, tell me who all needs it.
It's classified as if you recreate.
Okay.
So what's the definition of recreate? If you're stopping along the highway and you're going to run into the outhouse at the fishing access site.
That's not recreation.
That's not really recreation.
I don't consider my
Not the way most
bathroom
people think
visits
of it.
recreation.
If you run to the toilet and then sit next to it and have a beer, recreation.
Recreating, yeah.
Yeah, but if you want to stop and walk your dog or eat your picnic lunch as part of that, yeah, then it would require a conservation license for there.
And this is fishing access sites. Where all does, but not the state park, as long as you've paid your fee for the state park. Where all do I need this conservation
I think
license?
fishing
for?
access sites would be the one most people are familiar
Okay.
with.
Did you
or
want to
spending
read
their time.
every one of those off?
We thought
Well,
about that,
not
didn't we?
everyone, but
There
categories.
I think there's about 60
yes.
of them here in the region.
Yes. Yeah.
We could go through the whole.
Well,
we could
that's
draw
it.
this up.
You know what we could do, and we've done. Maudie did this
With
on
the
an
parks?
episode. You could
Yeah.
just read them at the end, and then she can
I'll just
speed it
fast
up. And
forward
Yeah,
it.
sure.
Yes. Here's all of them.
yeah, and then just
we could do that.
that would be
Yeah.
kind of funny. Anyway,
So those are probably the most common ones.
Yeah.
But then there's all sorts of state land. When they, when the federal government deeded the land over to the states, they set aside sections in each 36 sections. Square mile is a section in a township, and 2 of those went to the state to provide revenue for the school system. So that still is the case. There are at least two sections of state land. We have a lot of state land in Montana.
yes, we do.
And so to access those, if you can, get onto those parcels of state land to go hike or bird watch again, or to hunt especially, you'd need the conservation license to do that. Although if you're there to hunt, you've already got
gotten
it. Right. Anybody with a hunting or fishing license.
And that's regardless of their in-state or out-of-state. If you
Yes.
have a hunting license or a permit, you already have your conservation
You've already
license.
paid that fee. Right.
Okay.
They're connected.
Okay. That's good to know. Okay. So say I have my big pink unicorn and I'm floating down the Missouri River.
She's always on that big pink
Just
unicorn.
always on that unicorn. No, Jason fights me for it.
Yeah.
Just kidding. So is a game warden going to come along in his like
Hey, show me your stuff.
dolphin float
come
like coming
paddling up
after
next to
me?
you,
Like
right.
how is this monitored?
The game wardens
I
are
hope
usually
there's a fleet.
submerged. They're underwater.
Like
Yeah.
Navy
With a
SEALs.
And come up.
What are you
Yeah.
doing here?
No, what's happening with, especially right now, because this is a new requirement. So for the first year, it's simply an educational, just like we're doing right now. It's
Sure.
just an educational effort that, hey, if you're going to be here, help pay your way, pay for your impacts, buy a conservation license. And then it's actually written into the law. The whole law was passed by the last legislature, is where this came from. It's written into the law that the first, wouldn't even say offense, the first contact, if you don't have a conservation license, is a written warning. So by law, right now, nothing. They're just out talking to people and spreading the word about this.
Okay, before you move on, is there a database? So like I'm there with my unicorn floaty and Shannon and I are having races down the river. And I get contacted and I don't have my conservation license and I get my written warning. Is there a database system my name goes into so the next time I'm contacted, they're like, oh,
You're flagged. They actually do. That's the written warning thing. So
Hey,
you guys,
people.
you
The
can't
warning-
just exchange colors of your unicorn and
Yeah.
be like, oh, I didn't know. I
That
had no
wasn't me.
idea.
That
Be
wasn't
like,
me.
nope, no, it says right here, Ingham, this is the officer that
that was
talked
my
to you.
twin sister. not
So
me.
does that mean I need to have my ID and my license with me when I'm on my unicorn raft?
Yeah, there's a lot of
Okay.
good ways to do that, because you
Okay.
do need to carry the license
On you.
or have proof of some
Access
form of
to
a
show it?
license. So
Okay.
like as kind of a nerd myself, what I have is I've got the paper copy when I printed it off or when I bought the license. I've got photocopies with all of our family members on there, a photocopy
Smart.
in the glove compartment of
Yep.
every car, in the boat, in the
Very
rafting.
smart.
We have a full fleet. We have
Yeah.
raft, we have
Oh,
a
that's
boat,
really a brilliant
kick boats.
idea.
Canoes. So we grabbed the dry bag with the gear in it. There's the copy,
Yeah.
the copy is in there as well. And there's a picture on my phone, which is the most, when somebody asks
Yeah,
for
see,
it,
I did that
can
too.
find that faster and that's totally, the wardens are totally cool with that.
Okay.
Said if you can find it, and that's the key, make sure you have it somewhere where you can find it
And
quickly.
access it.
or-
Can I know my ALS number off the top of my head? Will they take that and check it?
They would have to look it up.
Okay.
So
So they're not doing that on
they,
site?
They usually ask that
No,
you have a
Shannon.
copy of it.
Well, I don't know if I just like know my number. I don't.
An ALS number refers to the
Yeah.
automated licensing system. It's your date of birth.
Because that's what gets
With a
printed
number,
off on
right.
the
That-
sheet. Yeah.
So we're going to get into that, but I want to go down this path a little bit more. So if I've got my fishing license, because this has been a source of contention in my marriage, and I know, Dave, I'm just bringing you right into it, but I will inevitably, every time we go fishing, forget my license
Yeah.
in my wallet, in my purse, in the pickup, instead of having it like in the boat.
Okay.
If I make a copy of that license and I put it in the boat, am I good to go?
Totally.
Oh,
Yes.
Because that's what you did essentially, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
And
have
and
one.
So that's
people
good.
people forget. I mean, I don't want to carry my wallet with me.
no,
in the
and
raft
I
or
Right.
forget
anything.
all the time. And like it's a split second. I'll remember, I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta grab that. And then I'm like, oh, I gotta untarp the boat.
Yeah.
And then I forget about it.
It's a good
so like
idea
if
to
I
have
just have
copies
it
everywhere.
copied and shoved into these locations,
Yeah.
you're
good to
it'd
go.
make my life
Just put it in a
better.
little Ziploc bag and stick it
Yeah.
wherever. Yeah.
And I'll admit, despite having that, the last winter I was checked by a warden, and I could not find. Said I've got it in my. This was ice fishing. I got it in the sled. No, I couldn't find it.
Yeah.
Got it in the car. Couldn't. I found 3 past years, but I couldn't find this year's. I did find it on the. Actually, my son found it on the phone. So
Yeah.
Did you tell the game warden who you were? Like,
that doesn't work.
You don't.
That
you
makes
didn't try.
it more of a time. This was in Helena. I didn't know this warden. So
you're like, sure you
I
are.
mean, I grew up in a small town and I have tried that with law enforcement. I wanted to pull the do you know who I am? But I thought
that doesn't end
probably
well.
this
Yeah.
isn't going to work in my favor at all
Nope.
because
Say, really, that's you?
Yeah.
Come on, let's go
Yeah.
have a talk.
because
on
at some
shore.
point when you have to say that, no, they don't know who you are and doesn't
Right.
matter. You're in the wrong.
right. Stop trying
Just
to use
just hope whoever's working dispatch is someone you know.
But you do see most people when they're floating, they're on the water. They've usually got a little dry bag
Yeah.
or something with their phone.
Yeah.
Put a picture
Right.
on your phone and
Yeah.
make a little folder or something where you can
that. Yeah. Have
put
access
your
to
driver's license picture and your.
that. See,
your
I should do
fishing
that with the
license
driver's
picture
license
and-
too. That's smart.
And I do that with drivers
Yeah.
because when I go to buy everybody's
ID.
license every year, you have to show a driver's license.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've got it for my wife and the kids, and I can just buy all the licenses.
See, you're a
He
good
is on it.
You're a good family man.
Yeah.
That
my
is probably
husband-
the only part that would qualify.
My
Right?
husband goes to get his fishing license, and then he comes home. He's like, "Have you gotten your fishing license?" I'm like, "Why don't you just get mine for me?" Or my favorite, I put in for my paddlefish tag. Are you putting in for one? Why don't you put in for me as well?
Like your competition then.
If you're a party tag.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
No.
I don't even know why we're married.
We're digging into other
It's all
issues
based
on
on
this
the
one. Sorry,
paddlefish
Dave.
season.
Yeah.
Okay,
Deeper than I want to
let's
delve.
let's pull it back up.
I have a clarifying question. So if I get a fishing license, is the conservation one automatically in that? Is that what you're
Yes,
saying? Hunting
it
or
is. Mhm.
fishing, it's automatically into that. Okay.
Now let's.
Which is why when I've talked to people fishing about it, and I kind of like, geez, have you heard about this? And these are just friends anyway. And I thought,
Yeah.
okay, I'm going to get chewed out here. Everybody so far that I've talked to, a handful of people, but they've all said, yeah, I've got this. I don't care. I'm glad all these other people, they take up space at the boat ramp.
Yeah.
I got to wait in line behind them while they pump up their unicorns on shore. So I'm glad they're actually
do it
helping
away
to-
from the ramp.
I'm not just paying for them. It's
Well-
not just my money that's paying for it.
And when we
people.
talk about where this money goes, it's going for the vault toilets. It's going for the paved boat ramps. It's going to cleaning everything up. It's making this experience better for everyone. So it's not a bad thing. And it's not that expensive. Let's talk about
No,
how.
it's not, and it's also I believe it's $3.50, $3.50 of this license goes to Department of Natural Resources and Conservation, and it can only be used for school educational funding.
There you
Just
go.
and that's a lot of times it's referred to as school trust land.
Yeah.
So that's money that FWP earmarks and has to send over
To
for
schools.
schools. So
Not just education about the
Your-
outdoors in schools, just schools in general.
schools in general, school funding.
Your math teacher.
Yeah.
Your
so your
librarian.
$8. This license is $8
For residents.
for an adult resident. It's half price for 17 and under.
Oh.
I believe, or 62. So it's a $4 license. It's good for a year, or it's good until our license year is a little weird. It's March 1st.
Yeah. So it's depending on, because I just got mine on Friday, and I think,
You're
mine
done
went
at
through,
the end of February.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So not that anybody's going to be floating, but if you're going to go hike on February 25th and you got to buy this license, it's going to expire in 5 days.
Right.
You buy it on March 1st for that next year.
And it's
it
for
will
the
go-
full year.
It'll go for a full year then.
Yeah. So it'll be, so it's good from the time you buy it until the end of
Until
February.
The last day of February.
So it always has to be renewed by March 1.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So $8 for residents, $10
I think
for
it's $10 for non-residents.
Mm-hmm.
and that's for the year. And I will tell you right now, so don't yell at us when you see any of us out.
Mm-hmm.
Even though you might be in town only for 3 days and you're going to just jump on your unicorn for one of those days and you're going to use one of our fishing access sites to float your unicorn, that is a $10 conservation license. Even though it's good for a year, you're only using it for a day.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. It is $10
Right.
per person, not per carload.
Right.
And that's something, it's a legislative thing, but I could see that. I could see it's kind of like the first year of anything, like a new car, the first model year of a new car. They're going to change things the next year.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I have no knowledge of this, but I wouldn't be surprised if this gets
But-
amended and tweaked and,
Sure.
and made
Of course.
different in the future, too.
But at the same time, we're not talking about
it's a Happy Meal, or
$80.
Right.
Right.
I mean, we're not talking about an exorbitant number. And again, don't come at me. You got a family of 5 kids
Right,
and
it
2
can still
adults.
add
It can
up.
still add up. I get that. But it is, just make more trips.
And the 6 and the
just
8
make
and
more
the,
trips
Use it,
to
yeah.
the
Montana.
young kids don't need one anyway.
Under
so
12,
if they're under
right?
12,
Okay.
they don't need
Oh,
one.
they don't need it.
Anyway.
It is for out-of-state people. It is for in-state people. It is for recreating at fishing access points and on school trust land. Where else do we need it?
You'd need it on wildlife management areas.
Okay.
So if you'd like to take a day trip out to the Sun River,
Go shed hunting?
go look for elk,
Uh-huh.
go look for sheds, or just go for a mountain bike ride out there.
Because you mentioned even hiking. We've been talking about floating a lot, but you had mentioned hiking too. So say like this winter, I want to go hike in one of these areas. I need it
if
for
you're
that.
going to be
Okay.
along state land,
Yeah.
on any of the state land. You do not need it if you're going to go on BLM or Bureau of Land Management owned
Okay.
property, Forest Service property.
That's
Don't
what I
need
was
it
just
there.
going to say. I'm going to go hike Sluice Boxes State Park. That's a state park. Don't need
State.
it.
Right.
I
'Cause you're
don't
paying,
need it in the
right,
state park.
because you're paying the entrance fee,
Okay.
either with your
Tag.
vehicle
or, okay.
license or,
Otherwise.
yeah.
How do I figure out where I need this and
Wow,
where I
where
don't?
do you- yeah,
as like
where-
as someone who lives here too, because I'm
Just
still like
wander.
thinking
You'll
about it.
you'll see a sign.
Will you? I don't know. Yeah, one of these. Well, I'll post a picture of this, but Dave brought in a lovely sign here, the
Yes.
conservation license requirement sign that will be out.
So our fishing access signs are, I think,
That's a little more
infamous.
straightforward.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
the big brown signs with a fancy fish, white
Yeah.
fish on it.
They're
That's
very recognizable.
Yes.
that is any fishing access
Right.
site that you're gonna have.
That's pretty
good.
straightforward.
I think the confusion's going to come in the hiking because you don't
Yes.
hike at a fishing access site, really. That's really where you're going to put your kayak in or
Right.
your unicorn or your raft or whatever the deal is.
Yeah.
But
Or even if you were to float a river and launch from private property or launch from BLM or Forest Service land, you're not going to need a license there. But then the question
What
is,
if I get out and
Where
if I
you
get
get
an
out,
access
or what
site?
if we?
you're
Right.
going to need it
Yeah.
then.
So there are
Okay.
ways, there's paper maps. I'm old school. I still have paper maps. And
Yeah.
They show land ownership.
Sometimes that's the
Um,
easiest to read.
Most people don't. Most people have it on either on their phone,
Onyx.
especially the hunters Onyx.
Okay, I was
Yeah.
going to say, what would you recommend? Does FWP have a website or map for this? You mentioned Onyx. That's a
Yep, FWP has a website.
Okay.
They also have on the website a list of all of those
School
650
trust
fishing
lands.
access sites.
yeah.
Yeah, to plan where you want to go.
Wildlife management areas.
Wildlife areas.
Is Sun River the only one kind of within our area?
No, we have the Sun River, which is just west of
Towards
Great
the Rocky
Falls,
Mountain
towards
front.
the front. If you just go south a little ways on the Missouri River, the Beartooth Management or Beartooth Wildlife Management Area, which is Holter Lake at the top, the upper end of Holter Lake.
Oh.
So does
There's
that mean
really good hiking in that
There's
area.
great hiking there.
Yeah.
Do I need? Okay, is Holter included in that? Like if I'm boating on Holter, do I need my conservation license?
Not because most likely if you access like Holter Lake specifically, it's going to be from one of the Bureau of Land Management BLM sites.
Okay,
You're
so
good
you're
there.
good there.
Yep.
I just have to get all these things straight in my brain.
Tiber
Yeah.
Reservoir.
Tiber Reservoir is a different category. It's Bureau of Reclamation. I
Ah.
don't know about all the surrounding land, but the dam itself is
Okay.
operated by Bureau of Reclamation.
Okay.
So, you know,
See,
the
you
safe thing
thought-
to do would be just get a
Get your
fishing
license?
license.
Yeah.
Most people, if you're out, a lot of people are going to have a fishing license anyway.
Right.
You're done. Don't worry about
Yeah.
it. Go catch a fish. Go have
Yeah.
a float. Go eat a picnic lunch and have a good time.
Yeah.
You thought you were the only one giving tests at the end.
Yeah, really. That
Yeah.
takes a while.
Nope.
This is just my brain being confused and trying to sort.
Yeah, but
through
if you're
it.
on like in the Little Belt
Yeah.
Mountains, you
Mhm.
don't need it. If you're in the Rocky Mountain front,
With the exception of what we just talked about.
except for the wildlife management areas, you
Yeah.
won't need it. If you're
Uh-huh.
in the Bob Marshall Wilderness Complex, that's all federal. You won't need it. River's Edge Trail, you
You're good, right?
won't
It'd either be
need
city
it.
owned here or
Yeah.
state park, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Or
Part of State
Northwestern
Park.
Energy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Those are the three entities that make that thing work.
Mm-hmm.
There are some fishing access points along the Sun River within this community that you'll have to be aware of.
I think there's about 25 or 28 fishing access sites in or around Great Falls. There's a lot
Yeah.
of them here.
Yeah, if you
Okay.
move out of town just a hair,
Yeah.
you're going to find some of the fishing access points that you'll need your conservation license for. So let's dig into how you get this thing.
Yes, I was just going to ask that.
That's pretty simple. straightforward.
Yeah. You can
Compared to who
you
owns
can
it
answer
all,
that one, right?
this
Yeah.
part is a little easier. Any license provider, so Shields, Walmart, North
Okay.
40, bait store, grocery store, anybody who sells hunting
Oh.
and fishing licenses,
You can get your
Can get
conservation.
just
it.
get your conservation license. Go online on your phone.
You can go to Fish, Wildlife, and Parks Region 4
You can go to the
office.
website. You could go down to the office.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what kind of information do you need in order to secure the license? Because I know, like, when I go to get my fishing license, I need my ALS number. I need to remember how
If
many
you've
years
had
I
one
was
before.
a resident.
If you've already had an ALS number. If it's new, you don't. You
Or they'll just
obviously
look you
don't
up.
need
If
me.
you tell them your name,
You
date
don't.
of birth, and
So
if
if
you're
you're
brand
new-
new, you need the last 4 digits of your social security number.
Okay. So if I've never gotten one, I need to know who I am, when I was born, and the last 4 of my social security number.
That's about it. Yep.
Okay.
Buy them over the counter.
Okay.
Um,
and it's
takes
then,
a minute or two,
and you have it.
and
You
you
don't.
have
There's
it.
no waiting. It's just as
No,
soon as you
it's-
do
They
it, you
print
have
it
it.
off.
they will
Yep.
print it off for you. Snap a picture of it onto your phone right away,
Yeah.
and
Make
then you can lose the
copies.
paper
Yep.
copy and pan.
Yep.
And when you lose the paper copy, you can call. You can go and get a replacement. I think
You can
it's
walk back in and
$2.
go, I screwed this
I
up.
lost one. Can you look me up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or call FWP and they can look
Mhm.
you up. And it's pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward to get one.
Mm-hmm.
And just hang on to it. That's the key.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I have a random question because I just bought my conservation license last week because I was going to go floating this last weekend. I also got my fishing license with it at the same time. And if I remember correctly, last year was the first year I had ever got a fishing license. And there's a question on there about aquatic invasive species and fishing. If you don't know what I'm talking about, that's totally fine because I'm not being specific. But I feel like there's a question on there about aquatic species, and it was like I was told to just check that. It's an extra like couple dollars on there. Is it
Maybe
like
a donation button.
Is it like in case you accidentally hook one?
No, I think it's just
Do I have to? For some reason, I feel like I was told I had to click that if I was getting my fishing license. Okay, well, never mind. This is.
I think you're making that up. I don't remember
I'm not
that.
making it up because I just did it. I remember questioning it, but Okay. Well, never mind.
I know there's a fee associated with all your licensing.
Yes.
That goes to aquatic invasive
Portion of that
species.
goes to, invasive species.
But this was something I had to check.
But I don't know if it's an opt-out, and that's what I'm thinking. It might be an opt-out.
It still
Or an
charged me.
opt-in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe I
Similar
opted.
to the parks, when you go
Right.
to register your
Okay.
vehicle,
Perhaps
if you say,
that's what
I
it
will
was.
never go to a state park.
Yep,
Yeah.
I can
I'm
opt out.
going to opt out of this and
Okay.
not pay the
Maybe that's
$8
maybe
fee.
that's what, because I feel like it was a couple bucks for this,
and it would make sense that it was one of those opt-in fees.
Yeah, it didn't. It
if you had
wasn't
to check
clear,
in and add it, but
yeah,
it was good because any money that goes to help fight aquatic invasive
Is a good
species
thing.
is good.
yes.
Yeah, and if you're
And
thinking
it's really
about it then when
important.
you're out there in your big floating unicorn
Yep.
and it's covered with weeds or
Mussels,
Eurasian
yeah.
milfoil, pick that off and
That and clean, drain, dry.
clean, drain, and dry every time.
Your unicorn, everything.
Yes, and this is
Your boots.
this is important. Why? Like let's help people understand why it's important to do that.
because you will
I was
transport.
asking the expert.
I will shut up.
I think she answered.
Just kidding.
Getting so
Just
excited.
kidding.
Dave,
Go ahead. Either one of
explain.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, AIS stands for aquatic invasive
Yeah.
species, which are usually from out of the country. The origin, they're not native to Montana, or in most cases, even the United States, North America, usually Europe or Asia. They come here, they have the capacity to kind of overwhelm native plants or animals, or in the case of like a tiny little mussel species, zebra mussels or quagga mussels, they can change the entire biology of a waterway by filtering out all the plankton that the fish need. Or so we're doing everything we can to keep those. And they're around. They're in Midwestern states. They're in Southwestern states. Some of them are here in Montana, but we're trying to do everything we can
We
to
had a
keep them
little-
out.
Yeah,
or
we
to
had
keep
a
them
little
from
scare
spreading.
with them, and I think there's a real good effort to check the watercraft that's coming in and inspecting in areas where they may be a little bit more apt to be in there, because I know Tiber was that way for a while.
Tiber and Canyon Ferry
Yeah.
were the ones sort of locally that.
But
Had
we're
some
still
issues.
good there. No badness.
And they
Nope,
get there
haven't been
because
found.
somebody didn't
They're
check their
transported.
boat from somewhere
Yep.
else, and then it just spreads
Yeah,
super quick.
like wildfire.
Yeah.
Could come in a bait bucket. Somebody with
Oh.
minnows or leeches in a bait bucket.
Okay.
Could come in the bilge water, down in a boat somewhere. It could be a mussel attached. Somebody pulled up their boat from Lake Havasu in Arizona, drove it up here to put in the water, and
It's amazing how quickly that can take over.
they can have a substantial
Serious
impact.
issue.
And
But
you
this-
and Madi did a whole episode about
Yeah.
it.
It is the most, I'm telling you folks, when I first got contacted and they said, we'd like to come talk to you about aquatic invasive species, I'm like, oh my God. So we sat down with this kid and he was so passionate about this work. I mean, not just aquatic invasive species, but the pig issue, squeal on pigs, and not bringing wood into the mountains that isn't from that area to do
Oh.
campfires. I mean, just all this stuff and trees and hiking and it was so entertaining and so interesting. We invited him to come on the podcast. We did an entire episode on it, and it is really good information because things you wouldn't think of, like a bullfrog, is an
Yeah.
invasive species.
Right, and they eat the native frogs.
Yeah,
All of a sudden,
I'm like, they're
Oh.
not
our
from
leopard
here.
frogs, and they're gone,
Yeah.
Wow.
or could be gone.
Yeah.
But that's the same with seed-free hay. If you're going to go backpacking, stock-assisted backpacking, you need to have certified weed-free hay.
I think a really good, not an aquatic species, but a terrestrial, a tree would be the elm trees.
Yep.
The U.S., was famous for these big, gigantic, beautiful boulevard elm trees, and Dutch elm disease came from Europe, and elm trees are gone. They're, worked for years now to try and restore.
Russian olives are another
yeah.
bad deal. And hiking, when you're hiking, that's another thing. Like after you get done
Oh,
hiking, you're
sure.
supposed to clean off your
These are
skin
things
and
that's
stuff.
easy to
'cause-
forget about.
Right. Because you'll transport it.
Yeah.
And we don't want that.
And the
No.
firewood ash trees, there's a bug called the ash borer. Bores holes into the ash trees.
Oh.
So that's a Midwestern thing. People bring firewood in, and all of a sudden we're losing our ash trees
Ashes.
here.
I
in
didn't even
Montana.
think about the firewood component.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you'll see a lot of people who might bring wood from home up to the mountains to burn. Don't freaking do that. That's a bad deal.
Okay.
You
Good
need the
to
wood
know.
from the area.
Yeah. So work on your chopping skills. Yeah.
It's your foraging abilities is really what's on display here. So someone shows up at a fishing access site and they're like,
Just a joke? Are you starting?
Yeah. Yeah. It
So a
does
guy
sound,
walks into a fishing access
this
site.
does sound like the start of a joke.
I'll perfect that, Dave. So next
I'm
time
sorry.
you're on, we'll
Maybe that'll be the episode title.
So a guy walks into a fishing access site and they learn because there's signage at that site that all of a sudden they're going to put their unicorn in and they're like, oh no, I don't have a conservation license. They can get it online right there as long as they have
As long as there's
service.
cell phone coverage, sure, you could go
Okay.
right online and buy it. right
And
there on
if
the
they
spot.
said, I'm a rebel, I don't need no stinking license, what's the fine?
I did not
Oh,
look that, and I haven't seen it yet because it hasn't.
it hasn't
We
been
come
haven't
a
out.
thing
progressed to
yet.
that part.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
you stumped me. Sorry.
that's all right.
Sorry,
There
Dave,
will
I
be a
didn't tell you to
fine.
prepare that. Yeah.
There will be a
I would
fine.
guess
Right.
there's usually it's like a violation of commission regulations, and that's usually a $70 or $80 type fine. But I don't know that for sure. So
Who knows? But this
But it's
first
not
year's
it's not
first
$10,000 and 40 days in jail or anything.
Oh, thank
At
goodness.
least until a
Yeah.
second
Yay.
offense, probably.
right.
Yeah.
You
You will.
screw up twice. You get your warning, and then
Uh-huh.
you get your
Then you get the hammer.
Fine.
And they probably take away your unicorn.
Yeah.
impound it.
Impound the unicorn, deflate it,
Yeah.
and impound
There's
it.
just going to be a whole room
The
of
judge
I
will
things
can't
now.
wait to see where at the Fish, Wildlife, and Park offices all the impounded
Uh-huh.
unicorns are. There'll be like an auction
That could
day.
make a good for an
Auction
auction.
day, like,
I was
like
just thinking
horns
that.
and antlers, you
Yep.
bet.
All of a
would
sudden,
be a
they're
good
liquidating
auction.
their place. I'm like, I'm first in
I'd show
line.
up for that. Yeah.
What can I get today? You violators.
Don't do a podcast and spread the word. You just
Right.
bring in competition. Show
There
up
you go.
yourself. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Don't tell anybody.
We're never
Yeah.
going to.
Those horn and antler things are a very big deal, though.
What do I not know about this?
Yeah. I don't know if I do either.
Well, when a judge, somebody commits a wildlife crime, say they
Yeah.
poach a deer,
Yeah.
they're caught, they pay a fine,
They're-
they take the animal. If it's usable for food, those go to the food bank first of all.
Okay.
But the heads, obviously they don't go to the food bank. So and they don't
glad
want
to
to
hear
just
that.
throw them out in the dumpster.
Yeah.
So they'll save those, and then once every year, once every 2-3, I'm not sure exact intervals, they'll have an auction where people can come, the entire state, all of the confiscated horns and antlers from the state
Oh.
Get auctioned
are brought
off.
in and auctioned off. And there are people who come back and say, I'm looking for my particular deer that
Oh.
Oh.
That I poached.
Yep, and I want it
They
back.
should not be allowed to come
and
to
they
that
can come back and
auction.
buy it back. So,
Well,
That makes
if
me
they
angry.
pay for it.
but it is when those happen. That is a big deal.
Well,
Very
because you
big
got a lot of people who make jewelry and
Yeah,
pens and knives.
And you've talked about
handles. Yeah.
shed antlers, but there's
Yeah.
a very high
lucrative
dollar
market.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they're worth a significant amount of money.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask a question completely not related.
All
And
right,
I just, kind of have a sense you might know something.
Ask me about native fish.
Nope.
No, okay.
So we went to an arts and crafts fair, and there was a gentleman who made handmade knives, and the handles are various horns, deer, elk. This gentleman claimed to have a mastodon horn or tusk as part of the handle of a knife. Now, mastodon tusks
Protected
or horn,
species in
they don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Like, it's a dinosaur. Do you know, or do you know where I could go? Do you know someone who might know? Can you actually trade mastodon tusks or horn? Because they're like fossils.
Should
I
it
would
be
think
in a
it'd be
museum?
similar to a fossil, sure.
Yeah.
And you can buy and sell
Fossils?
trilobites or fossils.
Huh.
I think
Yeah.
it depends where they're collected. You can't go out, hey, there's a mastodon buried out there in the back 40.
But like if I found it's not for some reason, because where I grew up, there's a ton of dinosaurs buried under the ground. And I just unearthed one. I could take their bones and sell them.
Sure, Private land, private land.
I mean, obviously not on public lands. That's a different level of difference, but or national parks. Don't take stuff out of national parks.
Don't go to the
either.
buffalo jump and pulling
Bad
bows
deal.
out of the ground.
Bad
But
deal there. Okay, there we go. That was it. That was my tangent.
Well, that's a good question, though,
Yeah,
because we were both wondering that when you told me that story.
yeah. It's a
and
weird
I've heard
little
of that also.
story.
I mean, I've heard of mastodon.
Well,
It just seems like something that would
like
not
you
just be
broke
like
into
this.
a museum and
Yeah,
stole it. Like
mhm.
I think there's some type of legal trade of them, but I don't know.
If I find it, what happens if I find it on public lands?
Public lands, usually you're not allowed to remove the artifacts like that.
right.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you can't even take animals off public lands unless you have a license to do
Well,
so.
yeah.
Sure, or
Is
like
there a
the
fossil
CMR,
license I can get?
the CMR Wildlife Refuge, you can't
Yeah.
pick up
Yeah.
shed antlers and
Nope.
cart them out with you.
So many
or
different
Yellowstone
rules.
Park or Glacier.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
so
Right.
many different rules.
Okay.
There's a lot of rules. Just
There
leave
are a lot
stuff
of
where
rules.
they are.
Yeah.
Unless it's garbage, pick that up.
Yeah, don't leave a trace at that. Yeah, or somebody else's trace. So, Dave, you live in Helena. You come to Great Falls every day to work because
Hey,
why wouldn't you want to work
because
here?
of the greatest damn town.
Exactly. And you drive one
I
of
say
my
greatest damn region for me. It's
There
a
you
region.
go.
There you go.
The best
fine.
damn town in
Yeah.
the best damn region.
There it is.
There you go.
I like it.
If you want to change your pod,
He's like, feel free to take
There's a
this
strong
suggestion.
partnership here.
Yeah. That drive between Great Falls and Helena, it just is one of my favorites, and I tell that to people too if they are
Yeah.
unfortunately leaving our community. You know, I tell them that that's such a great drive to do. Or
I also tell them to go on the frontage road.
that's what
but-
I tell them too. I was
yeah.
just going to say, like, get off and go on the frontage road a bit. Do you have a favorite section in there,
Oh,
or a
of the river?
spot that
Yeah.
you would say like this?
my
is the
favorite
scenic-
section, and I do, yeah. I
Mhm.
think of towards, I guess it's Hardy Bridge or Tower
Yeah,
Rock, as you kind of
mhm.
leave from between Cascade and then into the northern part of the drive.
Yeah,
there,
as you're
the
heading
northern part of
south
the canyon.
from Great
Headed
Falls
south,
on I-15.
right?
Yeah,
Driving into that section,
yeah,
I look at that. The light's always different.
Yeah.
I mean, even during the year, if you drive at the same time, it changes, a little bit every day, and
yeah.
it's
what I-
that's without question, that's my
Yeah.
favorite.
What I find interesting about that drive is the different bodies of water you follow.
Mhm.
Because it seems like it's all the same, but it's not. You got the Missouri, you've got the Dearborn, you've got Prickly Pear.
That's right. Yeah,
They're all connected.
yeah.
Like that doesn't seem like one stops and the other begins.
No,
Like you just
when
think
you
it's
first
the
said that,
same
I was
one.
like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
It's just yeah, no,
Nope,
Mhm.
it's not.
Yeah. Well, and I've done that. The float on the Dearborn where it comes into the Missouri there too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just beautiful. I love that part. And Tower Rock State Park, by the way, is somewhere you can go for a quick little hike out
Yeah.
of Great Falls
Sure,
as
it's
well.
close. I mean,
Mhm.
all those are within an easy hour drive.
Yeah.
An easy drive down a
Yeah.
4-lane highway. So
Mhm.
Yeah. True story.
Mm.
True story.
you're
Is-
not bouncing across the outback. It's an easy drive to get there and
Yeah.
very accessible. It's a state park, so
Yeah.
again, you don't need a conservation license.
There
if
you
go to Tower
go.
Rock.
Perfect.
Is it easy to find all of the fishing access, the school,
School trust.
there we go,
Mhm.
and the wildlife management areas on the website,
Yeah,
Fish, Wildlife,
it
and
is.
Parks
There's a
site?
mapping application on there, and
Okay.
sometimes it takes a little digging around to find it. But there's a
I need to
list of those.
Save that to my favorites in my browser.
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
full map, so you can go right on, or you can type in, find what WMAs, wildlife management areas within 50 miles of
Oh,
Great Falls, or
nice.
100 miles.
Oh.
Or,
okay. That seems
And
like
you
a
know, I
helpful
mean,
tool.
the other thing, it's the hours aren't great. It's working business hours, but call the Fish, Wildlife, and Parks office.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
They
say,
know.
hey, where can we go? We want to go. I want to see some antelope.
Yeah.
They can steer you towards.
Oh,
They're there to help, and
Thank
the
goodness, because
Yeah.
we get that question a lot. Where
Yeah.
can I go see elk? I'll be like,
Mhm.
the mountains.
front,
Best
yeah.
of luck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it depends on the time of year. I mean, drive
Yeah.
the frontage road through somebody's alfalfa field this time of year, and you're going to
Yeah.
probably see elk.
Yeah.
There's usually always a herd like in the fall, right before, if you're heading south towards Helena,
Yeah.
right before you get in, right before you get to Wolf Creek,
Mm-hmm.
off to the side, there's a
Oh.
hayfield there. There's often, they're in there
Yeah,
often.
that is a good
If somebody wants to
spot.
sit in my yard overnight, they can chase the elk out of off the
Ah.
lawn at night. So,
Yeah.
We have antelope and deer right behind us. You have
Deer and rabbits,
Yeah.
we've exhausted that
well, we had
topic.
30
Yeah.
elk the other morning. Woke us up, and which is really
that's
neat. But
incredible.
Holy
they're also
moly.
hard on the trees.
Yeah.
too,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. Do you have dogs? Do they make friends with the elk or run
She
them
looks
off?
out the window at the elk and
Yeah.
watches the elk.
Look
Like,
at that.
why are you out
big
there? You know?
things.
You don't have a long tail like me.
Yeah. Just stares at them.
Oh, well, go
Oh,
ahead.
I was just going to say, so we get asked a lot. People come in. We just had a woman in last week who we were explaining about the
yeah.
conservation license. She was wanting to go floating on the Missouri, wondering where to put in, where to put out, how long it was going to take, all of that. And so I gave my here's where I've put in and taken out, and I've enjoyed that. I have no idea how fast the water is right now. I think it took 4 hours. I don't remember. Is there two parts? One, is there a way to find that out in terms of how long a float would take or how fast the water is going? And two, what are your recommendations for someone maybe new to the area that's an easy put in, put out place to float or fish in the canyon in the Missouri here?
What I would do, I guess, is there is a place to find, it's not speed of the water, but it's the volume of water.
Is it the CFS?
Measured in CFS,
Okay.
cubic feet per second. And there's a website, I believe it's USGS, U.S.
Yeah.
Geological Survey.
Yeah.
We refer to that all because if you're going to float the Dearborn,
Yeah.
you have to know, geez,
Yeah.
it's got to be, if it's
Is there
too
any
high,
water?
I don't want to be on
Yeah.
there. If it's too low,
I think I
I'm
was
going to
on
walk
there once
19
when
miles.
it was too high. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's, and the way you would find that as a visitor, if you were
Yeah.
going, well, geez, I don't know what this number means.
Right.
or
I was
these
just going to ask,
abbreviations.
translate what I'm looking for.
What I
then.
would do would be to get on the phone, call one of the fly shops
Okay.
on a weekend, call the FWP office during the week and just say, hey, what is the Dearborn floatable right now?
Yeah.
And the person would be happy to say, oh, you know what, it's 350 feet per second of flow right now. It's probably pretty good. But hey, it's 19 miles. So
Yeah.
that's going to be a really long day. Maybe you want
Yeah.
to go to the Missouri
Yeah.
and do a 3-mile float or a 5-mile float or
And
any
on
of
like a typical kind of normal, well, there's not really a normal flow, but a normal flow kind of day, how many, like, what does miles translate to?
I usually think
floating
that 2 to 3
time?
miles an hour is what
Miles per. Okay.
2 or 3
Yeah.
miles in an hour
Okay.
generally. I mean, I don't
At
want to do a
300
15 or 20 mile.
CFS.
Yeah. There you go. Okay.
Yeah, and
This is good just because I think it's helpful because I've lived here a long time. I've gone floating a number of times, but usually I just
you think it's
I
just
go
kind of
and don't
born into
worry
you. Like
about
I
it, you
know
know?
I don't want to float that whole stretch.
right. So trying to help people, visitors, understand like this is what you're looking for. This is when it's dangerous or not. Like this is how long it will take. You know, want to give people
and
some
another good.
resources.
Most people are pretty friendly when you're out. If
Yeah.
you're not the person inflating your unicorn on the boat ramp and stopping
Don't
traffic
stand in the boat ramp.
for 90
yeah.
minutes, if you just go up and say, "Hey, where can I float to from here, and
Yeah.
how long does it take?" They may kind of look at you like, "Oh, you're not from around here," but it's not a secret. I mean, there's plenty of people out there. And
Yeah.
we haven't yet. I mean, it's worth pointing. We haven't yet hit the Missoula levels where they run. There's no parking, and they run shuttle buses
Right.
Right.
from in town
Yeah.
out to the fishing access sites because there's no place to park. It's so busy.
Yeah.
So we're a little. I hope we don't get to that
Yeah,
point
thankfully.
ever. But
It is beneficial
We're not there.
from that.
Yes.
and I mean, you can go. You go out in the evening, and the rivers are pretty empty at night.
Mhm.
Right.
I mean, if you want a little more solitude, there's times. Don't go on Saturday at noon. If you're here from out of town, go
Yeah.
on a Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and even then, though, most people show up and we talk to somebody and they say, "Wow, this place is empty."
Yeah.
And I look at it and go,
Swamped.
"This place is. I am not going to float there. There is no place." So
No,
it's
we're
all
seeing
your
that's a
perspective.
good perspective.
It really
yeah.
is.
Yeah.
But boy, I
Okay.
mean, the rivers here. I know we're talking conservation license, but a lot of it's been the floating. The rivers here and the resources are, they're amazing.
Yeah.
We
And we
just-
take it for granted.
Yeah.
we had
do.
some gentlemen in from South Carolina yesterday. Shout out to you if you're listening. You're probably not, but they headed down to the Sip and Dip, which is a whole different kind
That's
of
a
water
different-
recreation.
Don't need a conservation license at the Sip and Dip.
But they were avid fly fishers down in the southern part of the state near Livingston and Gardner and the Madison down by Bozeman and Big Sky. And I'm like, why are you not fishing the Missouri just south of here? And he's like, well, we just haven't yet. I'm like,
This is
that
like the
you
best
got
in
Belt
the
Creek,
world.
you've got Marias River. I mean, the amount of fly fishing that's really untapped in this area, you're missing out, pal.
And we're
And
not-
fish populations,
Yeah.
we've got them beat. We've got those rivers beat. Size,
Yeah.
the fish are as large or larger here.
it's just a better experience,
Yeah.
people.
And as tailwater, we speak of dams, so it's tailwater fisheries. They don't quadruple in flow in the spring and then dry up in the summer. They were more stable.
Yeah.
The dams control that. They keep the water cooler.
Yeah.
It's ideal. If that's your thing, if you want to go catch walleyes, you can, or you want to go on your paddlefish trip.
Yeah. So awesome.
Shout out to the paddle. I mean, that's my favorite. I love them.
And let me just go on record to saying someone with Fish, Wildlife, and Parks, thank you for the tag system that has created such a more enjoyable experience for paddle fishing at the start of the season, throughout the entire season.
Sure, it's not a race anymore.
It's not
get your paddlefish
thousands
before the quota
of people
fills.
down at the one spot for a day and a half before the quota is reached. It's just the biological management of the fish and the amount of dispersion that can occur with the different times you can actually pull fish out when you have a tag. It's 1,000% better experience.
And that's the
than
neat
it
thing on
used
the
to.
Missouri. You can start with the cold water fish south of town. You can transition to catfish and bass
Yeah.
in and around Great Falls, and then get into the warm water species a little further down. I mean, this really, it's a good,
It's so
the transition here, it all comes back to the whole region for the biological diversity thing.
Yeah.
gets you giddy.
It does. It gets me. Yeah. I mean, if you like fish, if you're a fish nerd, this is the place to be. It really is.
I just wanted to clarify too, because at the beginning of the episode, we compared it a little bit to chatting about the glacier reservation system, where there is a limited number of licenses or tags. There's not a limited number. You're
Not at
not
all.
trying to beat anybody else out.
Nope. There's no
Anytime you
need-
can get it,
Right.
no
You
restrictions.
can buy
with
it
that.
anytime.
'Kay.
If you're in town and you decide, hey, we're going to go run the dogs out at the fishing access site this afternoon, jump on your phone. Probably
Get
take
it.
you 3 minutes on the phone to buy it. $8. You're done. You're good for the year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then
Thank
forget
you for
about it.
that.
Just
Yeah, I
don't
just wanted
forget
to
where
clarify.
you put it. That's all.
Right.
Forget
Take
about
Dave's
it, but don't
advice.
forget where it is.
Just make multiple copies and shove it
Yep,
everywhere.
put them everywhere.
That's really the benefit. And it's good for a year, which is not really a year unless you buy it on March 1.
And that whole, carrying lots of copies, that is, by the way, that is warden approved. I did ask our warden captain.
Oh, good.
See,
Absolutely.
okay,
Assumed.
good deal. Yeah.
If not, we just be like, oh, well, we talked to Dave,
Dave
and
said
he
that.
said,
Do you know who I am? No.
do you know
Never has
who
worked.
he is?
It's not going to get you far. That's more likely to get
Yeah.
you a ticket, probably.
Yeah, 100% agree. When you think you want to pull that out of your back pocket, just don't, because they don't care. Like, if you have to tell people who you are, it's not worth
It
telling
didn't work
them.
on my mom when I was 9 or 10 years old either.
Yeah.
Well, she knew who I was.
Yeah. Nobody cares. Nobody cares
Good
who
for
you
you.
are.
Yeah.
I wonder if the governor can do it, because he comes down and does paddle fishing and he'll be places. I'm sure he doesn't break the law, but I wonder, do you know who I am? Because sometimes he's not recognizable.
Yeah. True. Or people just don't know.
And they'll say, we don't care. You're not doing what you're supposed to do. Yeah, we'll see. Dave, thanks for being on our podcast.
This was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Well,
we
good.
appreciate it.
Yeah, I had fun.
Even for a topic not the most exciting in the world,
See, I
but
told you we could make
we
more
d-
than a
we
few minutes out of it.
managed-
Yeah.
we did.
And for the
We
prop
can
we have
make-
now.
We can make everything exciting,
Sure.
Dave. And this is good information for
It is
people to
very
have.
helpful.
And if you really want to have a blast, listen to that the invasive species episode.
Yeah, I'll put that one into the
pretty.
playlist.
It's a pretty good one. And so, folks, go back, listen to the invasive species. Put this one as a saved episode because you're going to want to reference some of that, especially if you're taking some of Katie's advice and maybe some of those areas then become areas where you need a conservation license. I have no idea. I'm not the expert. Katie was, clearly. And so if you need help, you can call us 406. Let's go with 761. 4436. I never
Sounds
know.
like the number you say.
Yeah, it seems like the right one.
too. Don't.
Oh,
That's a
yes.
good one too. 454-5840.
Okay. And I'll put links and phone numbers in the notes section of this podcast.
Yeah.
as
Call if
well.
you have questions. That's
Yeah.
what they're there for, and they can actually answer them a lot better than I can.
And they're
Or we
nice
can.
people.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
nice
Right.
people.
Yeah,
They're not going to be mean to you.
like we might. Just
No.
kidding. Just
Yeah.
kidding.
Do you know who I am?
That could
the
be your
proper
title
way
too.
That's probably where you should use it. I'm not going to be mean. Well, do you know who I
Yeah.
am? So thank you so much. And I'm so glad we finally got some information about the conservation license, and be prepared because this is a lot and this is stuff you're going to need to know. And until we see your bright, smiling, happy, healthy, beautiful face here in Great Falls, we hope you are creating amazing memories with your friends and family wherever you might be. We'll see you soon.
We're No Dam Experts is the recorded claims from Great Falls, Montana, covering what you need to know about this amazing dam town.